Genevieve Queen. I'm one of our coach here on the Eve Speaks platform. I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining. I see that we have some people who have already joined, so I'm just going to give everybody a shout out. Amy Lindsay, Amy, Carolyn Thomas again, Ileana Cabrera, Isabel Evans, M. Hill, Michelle Boyd. Thank you guys so much for joining. We want to make this a very interactive conversation, okay? We don't want to be entertainers. We want you to be part of the conversation. And so to achieve that, we're going to ask some questions, and I want you to take the time to reflect on it. But before I dive into that, let me just say, my name is Angela Gibson. I am the founder of the Eve Speaks platform. It was born out of my own struggle with anxiety and my desire to grow, to heal, aspire, and grow, which is the bedrock of this platform. And so this journey has started for me in 2016. I was speaking in front of a crowd and I passed out and I said, oh my gosh, I gotta grow. I gotta overcome. And so this platform was born. And we have been reading this book together on this platform called Thinking for a Change. We're very much about thinking well, because thinking is everything. And so tonight, the specific focus of the book that we've been reading by John Maxwell, my online coach, he doesn't know it, but he's my coach, is a reflective thinking. There are 11 thinking skills. And the things that most people don't know, because I didn't know, that there is a framework within which to think. Did anybody know that? I didn't know that till recently, like last year maybe. And these thinking skills gives us a way in which to think that is effective, that gives us the outcomes that we want, that helps us to make decisions in a more strategic way. And so for tonight's focus, we are going to merge the thinking skill called reflective thinking with volunteerism. And we're going to be asking questions around the thought process that goes into having the heart for being a volunteer. And who else is better to tell us about this than the one and only Rhonda Clarke? So Rhonda, I just want you to give us tell us, I mean, I'm sure some of these people already know who you are, but tell us more about you. Tell us about, if I were to introduce you to someone, what would be the thing that you would say you're the most proud of?
Okay, well, first of all, good evening, Angela. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. Thank you for people who logged in. I do know some of you, and but I don't think we've ever had these kind of conversations, so I'm really glad for this platform. Mm-hmm. But I think if you didn't know me, and the thing I'm most proud of course, the first things, if you do know me, you know the most thing I'm proud of is that I had a baby at 43. I became a mom for the first time.
That is big. I also had a baby at 43, so that's big.
Yes. So that, but again, that's my one and only. And so that was a huge accomplishment. You know, wow. I did get married. I was about 39 when I got married, struggled with infertility, and then actually had my son. So that's something I'm super proud of. But
that is something to be celebrated as well. Killing a baby at 43 is no joke.
But okay. outside of that, and navigating that community, because when you're 43, your friends' kids are already heading to college, or in school or in different spaces. So you find yourself a little bit alone when you start out at that age by yourself. So one of the things I'm definitely proud of is that through that, I started with the help of a couple of other moms, a moms group. And this was to create a community for our children. A few of us were kind of transplants, either from Europe or the Caribbean or from South America. And we would meet and hang out, and it was a meetup. There were about 17 of us when we started. And by the time in our heyday, by the time our kids were about school age, we had over 600 moms in this group.
Wow.
And we were on every talk show, magazine, HGTV did some of our houses. And we just created this great family and community for our kids. So my son literally has friends that he's known since he was 18 months old.
That's amazing. You know, we did a prep call and this part of it never came out. I'm
Uh,
learning this along with you guys. And we supposedly
Yep.
did a prep call. What is that about?
so that's something I'm really proud of, because where I live is not necessarily, I live in Bergen County in New Jersey, which is one of the richest, places in America. And there are not too many, if you do a survey or a demographic search, there are no women of color who are stay-at-home moms. We don't
Oh,
even show
wow.
up. And so to have a group that's not mocha moms, but that focused on community, and we had a very diverse group, a very multicultural group, was something that wasn't really happening, 15, 16 years ago. So that's something that I'm super proud of, being able to
So
be a
you know
part
what
of
I'm
that.
hearing already? That in your blood, in your DNA, is there's a normal capacity to blaze a trail. And that doesn't sound like volunteerism. You just decided that, you know what, I'm going to make a difference in this way. It probably just came natural to you.
I
You
don't
got
know.
a group of
We did
600.
definitely volunteer. We would teach the kids, we would visit every fire station. And every
Mm-hmm,
fire station you go to, you get a different hat. So we would collect the hats, but whenever we visited the fire stations, we would take snacks and cereal and cookies, and we would go to the fire stations on Halloween and give treats to the firefighters. So there was an
mm,
element of giving back that we taught our kids from young. We would also visit nursing homes, and we would dress the kids up for holidays, whether it was 4th of July, and we would wear red, white, and blue, and we would do parades for the seniors. And we taught our kids to read that way. We would go to the senior places with our Bob books, and the seniors
mm-hmm.
can't hear, right? So they would sit there and our kids would read to them, and we would perform for them. We would set the table for them. So this is when they were really young. So the group was something I was really proud of, but it was the beginning of volunteerism, and taking it and
Wow.
passing it to our kids. But then the other thing that I'm really proud of is that right now, in this space, Hope Worldwide has about 130 US chapters.
Mm-hmm,
And so I'm a chapter director of the New York, New Jersey area, which means we have about 3,000 volunteers. And besides coordinating and keeping everyone safe, when you're with nonprofits, there's a lot of say rules, a lot of do's and don'ts to keep everyone involved safe, especially when you're working with kids.
mm-hmm.
But right now I'm actually the board chair for the 130 chapters. And so that's really a big space. It's not something that I imagined I could do, or
Mm-hmm.
kind of fell into this space. So I'm really excited about that. And a lot of people don't know what that is, or know that I do that. Um,
Wow.
Another thing within that
Impressive.
during COVID was, I think, really the time where I found my voice, because
Mm-hmm.
we're on lockdown and it's don't volunteer, don't touch anyone, don't do anything. In that space, we found ways to serve our community, serve each other. So we would do an online Zoom where the kids could still interact with each other. And we would have a different theme every month, where maybe we had people entertaining, we'd have guest speakers.
Wow.
And so during COVID, our kids were still engaged. We would also, every town has like a food pantry. So if someone gets COVID, we would go there, pick up the food and deliver it to people's houses and just leave it on their doors. Also during COVID, people who were sick, shut in, we would do their grocery shopping. And so
Wow.
um, then we also had the racial tension with George Floyd. And that was kind of a really something that I didn't know, that I had such strong opinions and such strong feelings. Um,
Mm-hmm.
diversity and inclusion. And that was really where I found my voice on inclusion. My son was in middle school at the time, and in middle school, our class usually, the 8th grade class always leaves a legacy gift. And we weren't in session, right? So our legacy gift was myself and a group of moms put together 100 cultural books so that the school no longer for summer or for break or for the library had these traditional books. We had books that were people of color, people who were Hispanic, people who were Asian, people who were Indian. And that book list is still in effect to this day. 5 years later, those kids still for summer reading list, they get this book of multicultural books to read.
Wow. So let me say, let me just say this. So you just started. I'm always feeling like, I got to catch my breath to keep up with, the heart that you've exhibited already, just in the things that you've shared. And you've said something, which I think is really important for me to pull out to celebrate, is that you said you found your voice. What was going on in your life where you felt like you had to find your voice? Why did you lose your voice at one point? Why did you have to find it? And how did volunteerism help you to find it? Before you answer that question, Jay, why don't you put that slide up just to kind of set the tone for where we're going? Because it sounds like, from all the things you said, it sounds like there's a lot of time that's involved. But this is one of the quotes that we just find to be so, that resonates. Volunteers do not necessarily have to have the time. They just have to have the heart. And it sounded like you may not have had your voice when you started, but you certainly had the heart. And that's what I see and I hear coming through so far. Did you hear that, Genevieve?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great quote.
Pardon?
That's a great quote.
Yes, you don't have to have, because a lot of times we can feel like, I really don't have the time. And I can honestly say I felt that way. I ain't got the time. I'm just so busy. A whole bunch of stuff. But the heart is definitely what I hear coming through. And so go ahead and finish telling us the story about why you felt like you had to find your voice.
Yeah, I don't think I knew my passions, which your thing is, volunteer and passion. I don't think I knew my passions. And for example, people would say, oh, you should go into sales. You'd be a great salesperson. And I'd say, but there's nothing I believe in enough to sell. There's nothing that would keep me motivated enough to sell it, because I'd have to believe in it strongly enough to do that. And so when I say find my voice, I feel like I found my passion and my purpose. Inclusion is really important to me. I thrive on inclusion. I don't want to just come to the dance. I want you to ask me to dance with you. And so that's something very important to me. And so through the different, just through the different things that I was able to participate in after that, 9/11 is very important to me. Everyone who was alive knows exactly where they were and what they were doing when 9/11 happened, how it affected them, how it affected their family, how it affected people maybe that they didn't even know. And so every year there's a race, it's called Tunnel to Towers, where there's a firefighter who they follow his steps. He was a firefighter. He lived in Staten Island. Shortly, I'll just briefly tell you, he lived in Staten Island. He was off duty. He threw on his 100 pounds of gear. He walked through the tunnel. He climbed up the stairs, and he saved many firefighters before he himself died. So for the past 20 years, his family have reenacted this race where you start in Staten Island and you walk through to the World Trade Center, or Freedom Towers now. And for years, my family did the race. We volunteered, not volunteered, we actually participated in this race. I cry every year. It's something so meaningful to me. So for 4 years, I applied for volunteer status so that our chapter could participate, and we kept getting denied. I'm like, what do you have to be a volunteer? And finally, we were approved. So this will be our 3rd year being volunteers at the Tunnel to Towers race.
And I'm sure there's some people on here who would probably want to participate in that, because I certainly want to participate this year. I've never heard of it till you mentioned it recently.
And you're on
And
Staten
so,
Island.
and because I live in Staten Island, I certainly want to be a part of that. So speak to that a little bit more. Give us, maybe you can put some, you know, maybe we can get some more information about it later to share,
Yeah.
so that we can certainly be a part of that, because it sounds exciting as
So
well.
it's so meaningful. The first responders come, people from the firefighters from London, from Paris, ROTC, West Point, every EMT, any emergency people, they come. And then I won't tell you because you haven't done it yet, but the people who, you know, died, the 343, are super honored in an amazing way that you will just, it's so emotional.
Really, I can
I won't
imagine.
spoil it for you because I think for your first time you have to experience it yourself. But
I'm looking forward to
it's
that.
really amazing.
The people in the chat are you know, they're buzzing. I like this. I like this group. They're buzzing. Amy says that's an important aspect of selling effectively. I guess having a passion.
Yeah.
Michelle says she loved the quote. Michelle Boyd, to everyone, thank you so much. I'll be volunteering for the first time. Oh, of course, Michelle. Yes, yes, yes. Let's celebrate.
And then I would say my last thing that I'm super, super proud of is I have the privilege of having a job that is my passion. So my job is working for a foundation that the family lost their son. And I was hired to continue his legacy and help the program to grow. And so in order to do that, I felt like if you're going to follow someone and help someone, you have to know someone. So I spent the first few months just going to where he used to live, meeting his teachers, meeting his nanny, meeting the people, his friends who interacted with him, so I could understand, okay, if I'm going to help it to grow, what would he want? How would he want it to grow? What would he approve of? What wouldn't he want? And so, you know, because I didn't know him. So, and there's certain questions I don't feel comfortable asking the parents to make them relive the trauma. So I did all my own research and got to know him really well. And so one of the main characters of this young man was that he always fought for the underdog. And so the program that they had in place was amazing program where you have leadership and entrepreneur opportunities for high school students. But it was offered in the school that he went to, which was a private school, and where his sister went, which is a private school, which is wonderful because it's a tool that every kid needs. But I felt like to be more with what in line of who he was, we should give it to kids who this program would change their life. So after 18 months, we are finally launching in September in a Newark public school.
Wow.
And that is so huge because I can't wait to see what it's going to do for these kids, for them to have these opportunities and for them to have, you know, a seat at the table, things that would never be open to them. And so I'm like super, super excited about that.
So this journey that you're on must keep you alive, huh? Do you feel like the blood is just rushing? That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I get excited to get up every day.
Wow.
Sure.
And that's the title of this particular conversation, how to turn your passion into your purpose. And do you think that's what happened with you? Your passion became your purpose?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
That's amazing. Now, if you were to be able to share with people about how to navigate that process of, because sometimes, you know, you can think that you have a passion, but you're not really sure it's your purpose.
That is true.
Well, you may think it's a hobby. Matter of fact, I have some questions around this. Genevieve, why don't you ask the questions? I think you have some questions you want to ask, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have some question about it because as we were discussing the question during the preparation, I would like to ask you to the audience, do you know your passion, what you are passionate about? And do you know your purpose?
It's a juicy question.
Yeah, it seems to be a simple question, but actually many people need time to reflect to answer to this question.
I'm glad that she's saying that you need time to reflect, because that's the thinking
Yeah.
skill that we are merging with volunteerism. Because a
Mm.
lot of times we don't reflect and we don't think about the experiences that we've had or the feelings that we have or what we get excited about or what's on our heart. We don't give enough thinking time. So we are unable to extract or excavate what the passion is and how it can be turned into our purpose, or if it is our purpose.
Right.
Somebody said that's a wonderful question. Well, thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Michelle Boyd says, children, I've been in the special education field for over 20 years. That's your passion and your purpose, Michelle. For you, they're one and the same, your passion and your purpose. Are they typically the same one, Rhonda, would you say?
Yeah.
Mm.
I agree.
Empowering women. Mm.
Say it again, Genevieve.
Eliana Cabrera said empowering women.
Yes.
Empowering women.
Yeah.
So would you say that your passion comes first and then it turns to your purpose? Or is it your hobby that you get first? Is your passion and your hobby the same thing, would you say?
I don't think I have any hobbies. I think you find your fire, right? And then you decide, what am I going to do with that fire? I can say during COVID, like I said, during COVID, everything was shut down. And a doctor from California reached out to me, and she wanted to come to New York and do testing. And this was before you could do tests. No one could get testing. And it was a great opportunity. I think opportunity is another one where I saw the opportunity for my volunteers to get tested. If we volunteered with this doctor. And so in Queens College, we opened up one of the first drive-through testing centers, but all my volunteers were able to get tested first. And that was something that wasn't a thing. I think while we were home during COVID, we took a time to look at, well, what is volunteerism? Are we really helping? When we show up at someone's door with a package, or we give kids school supplies, or we show up in our t-shirts and say, look where we belong, are we really helping? And so during that time was when we revamped a lot of things like, hey, why do we wear the t-shirt? If we don't need to wear the t-shirt, don't wear the t-shirt. Let's all be inclusive. If we show up at the door with the gift, are we helping that person to feel like they're valued, or are we hurting them? So even when we do toy drives, we might still do the same free gifts, the same free book supplies, but okay, just by not packing the book bag and giving the child a chance to pick their bag and pick their notebooks and giving them choices, it empowers them. Free stuff, but how we present it. So while we were home, we had time to really look at all of these things and revamp them. And so I think if your passion is, like for me at this time and right where I am, it's inclusion and opportunity, then I'm going to focus all my energy into changing and becoming that for people as I serve.
So you're saying you have to find, and you said something that find your fire. I like that. Find your fire.
Angela,
that fires me up.
Fires you up.
Did you see, Angela, the thinking frame in motion while Rhonda was talking? Actually, I'm discovering something when I listen to her, is that she find the perfect match between volunteerism and leadership, actually. And
volunteerism and leadership.
And this comes after a reflective thinking. Like she wanted to do something different and significant, not just doing it and showing up, just like she said, but thinking about, what am I doing? Is it really helping? This is exactly the
thought she was engaged.
Exactly, that we're talking about tonight. And I'm just discovering that, you know what? This way of leading volunteerism is actually a way of leveraging leadership in people's life, because John Maxwell say that a leader is someone who knows the way, shows the ways, and goes the ways.
Woo, hallelujah.
So,
he knows the way, goes the ways, and shows the way. And I think,
right?
yeah, you're
And
certainly doing
actually,
that.
what you just did was the COVID testing was actually to set the example. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes people are a little bit cold when they have to start something new because everybody knows that change is not easy, it's challenging. And but when they see people,
Mm.
going the ways, they are more that they can follow easily. And it is wonderful. Well,
Yes.
Well,
I have to
usually I wear on my necklace, Ephesians 3:20, and it says that God gives you more than you can hope or imagine. And I'm like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, if I think it and imagine it, then it's going to be even bigger than what
Wow.
so I don't go in thinking it's new. It's never been done before because I just imagined it. It's my thing that God's going to give me.
I
So
mm,
just
love that
because
scripture too,
just
because you
because
can
it's never
think so
been done
much, and
before.
God is like, I can do so much more than that.
Yeah, that
exactly.
part doesn't scare me. I'm like, okay, we just have to figure it out.
Wow. What a perspective. We just got to figure it out. It can be done. I love it. M. Hill
Yeah.
says sometimes the people in our life can help you to narrow down your purpose. Sometimes we get a little confused, right? About purpose and
Hmm.
passion and all this and hobby. He says his passion is organizing. I think is it a man or a woman? I don't know. It's M. Hill.
That's Dr. Hill. I think that's Dr. Hill,
Dr. Hill, is it a man or a woman?
a woman.
A woman.
Max.
Dr. Hill says she says her passion is to organize and help the youth. There's a
Help.
lot of passion for the youth because that's where it begins, right? If we can make a difference there, then that's huge. And Amy says that's good. Something was said that she says that's good.
Yeah.
Reflective thinking. Here's a quote that's really, really that resonates as well. Reflective thinking, according to John Maxwell, is like the crock pot of the mind. It
Yeah.
encourages your thoughts to simmer until they're done.
Mm.
And I think that when you mentioned some of the things that you thought about and you considered, it sounded like there was a lot of percolating going on for you to take the action that was going to actually make an impact, not just do
Mhm.
stuff for doing it.
Right.
And make sure that it merges with not your passion and your purpose merge. I think that gets a little confusing sometimes if you're not sure about how to go about it. But sometimes it seems like as long as you start on the journey, it becomes clear. Would you say so?
Yes. Yeah. I would say 90% of the time I don't know what I'm doing, right? I mean, I can have things laid out and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but it's the end goal. Like there's no
Mhm.
wrong way to do something as long as it's positive.
Mm. You follow
Wow.
your heart, just like we just see it in the quote. You just follow your heart. You have the heart and you follow it. And as we say, even though it's not some all the time the good way, we know that God can work things all together for our good.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
But we have another question, Angela,
Go
to
ahead.
ask, to ask you to the audience. Now that you know maybe your passion or your purpose, do you think that you are living your passion or your purpose as an hobby or as a mission?
Is your passion or your purpose your hobby or a mission? Is that the question?
Yeah,
Mm.
because I love when Rhonda said, I don't think I knew my passion because sometimes you can, just like I said, you don't know that your passion has to be actually your purpose, has to lead you to your purpose. You have to live it like a mission. If you live it like a hobby, you will keep feeling like there is something missing in your life.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because instead of doing it like a mission, you will be doing it as a hobby. Like I will do it just when I will have sometimes.
And
When
if
it
I can
will,
add, I
yeah.
think it's also like learning your gifts and talents
Mm.
Exactly.
because my gift is connecting and nurturing people. And I
Mm,
could see it as a negative thing. When I see it as a negative thing, it's I'm too peoply, too relational, you know, and it can
Mhm.
seem like a negative thing. But when I turned it around to, well, not
Mm.
everyone has that ability. You know, I can
Yep.
pretty much talk to anybody. I can pretty much figure out how to make anyone feel comfortable, and not, you know, not in a bragging way, but it's like that's a true gift.
That's
Right.
your
Because
true, that's
there's
your
some
true
people,
personality. Yep.
right, some people don't have that gift. And so how can you
Right.
take that gift and then use it for good? You know, so I can give you an example. We were working at a school and we forgot the hot dog buns. So we sent the volunteers out to get the hot dog buns. The police said, why are y'all buying? Oh, we had like 300 buns. They were like, where are y'all going with all these buns? And school was closed that day. And they said, you know, they explained what we were doing. They came back. So the police came with them. So we were doing a blood drive and a Martin Luther King thing. So the police came with them. We during COVID and right after COVID, you couldn't use the kitchens. So we literally had people bring in George Foreman grills so we could cook hot dogs to feed the kids. But we forgot the
Wow.
buns. So even in our mistake, it wasn't really a mistake, because if we didn't go to the supermarket, we wouldn't have ran into the police. This turned into, we did a survey with the parents, and the parents said they were fearful of their kids going back and forth to school. So from that, we figured, we have the police here. How can we marry the police to the parents? So we
Mm-hmm.
ended up having a relationship with the police that were there. And we said, hey, can we paint a mural for you guys? So we ended up painting a mural in the precinct, but we used words like empathy, kindness, strength, support along
Mm.
the mural. So as the police walk back and forth every day, they're filled up with these positive words. And we said, okay, we have to make
Mm.
the students human, not just another person or another face, but we have to give them an identity. So what I did was, my son goes to a private school. So I put in the parent page, does anyone have any bikes that their kids have outgrown? I got about 40 bikes from really nice bikes, helmets, really nice stuff. Okay. So we took those bikes to the precinct, and then the precinct put on a bike safety day where the police taught the kids how to ride bikes. And at the end of it, we gave the bikes away. So this activity met so many needs because the kids became faces. The police helped them on their bike. They helped them put their
Mm.
helmet on. The parents were there. This police weren't the enemy anymore. They weren't the person who, you know, arrested Boo Boo, threw my dad in jail, my mom, whatever their story was. They became the people who taught me how to ride a bike, the people who gave me a bike. Now the parents
Wow.
weren't as afraid for their kids to travel back and forth because they were on bikes, and the police were going to be looking out for them now. But
Look
also
at
the people at my son's school got to donate and participate in this, even though they would never be a part, you know those kids go to the neighborhood or anything like that. So from one
mm,
thing, it was the whole, a lot of needs were met.
wow.
Wow.
I definitely hear fire. I hear heart. I also hear the
Wow.
scripture that says, uh, life's most, it's not a scripture, it's actually a quote. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I think the people who are here to that tonight, they have the same heart. And maybe this
Mm.
conversation will help you to kind of irrigate or irritate some questions in your heart and your mind about how you can um, continue to pursue your passion and your purpose and to make it into a mission. But would you say your purpose is your mission as well? The passion, the purpose, and the mission, they're kind of like interlocked,
Yeah.
so to
Mm.
speak.
In when I see, for example, some disco reports, some people have some personality trait very high rate,
Mhm.
and they explain it like, when some people has a very high trait of personality, it's not just a way of behaving; it's become a need for that person. So knowing that it is a need for that person, it's mean that this trait of personality, this kind of behavior, if there is nothing, if the condition doesn't allow this behavior to be shown, the person will create it. because it is a need, a deep need. But when I listen to Rhonda, it's like you were born for that, for sure. Now, someone say that there's two important days in our lives. The first one is the day we were born, and the second one, the day we discover why.
Wow.
And I think that,
Powerful.
yeah, some people are still, trying to understand what they are, why do they are on this earth. But when you find it, actually, it just like this.
Lit.
You exactly
You become lit.
a fire, whatever you're doing, it's something that you feel, that you are convinced of, and it's always give this kind of result. Because when you were talking about this experience with the police, I was thinking about this verse that talks about reconciliation. Bible say that we have to be agent of reconciliation, something like. And
Agents of reconciliation. Yes.
yeah, and
That's what it sounds like. It certainly.
uh,
Jay, please put up the next quote. Let's turn the corner. It's 9:38. When you reflect, you're able to put an experience into perspective. I like
mhm.
this. This is part of the thinking framework of reflective thinking, as we mentioned. By the way, I do want to continue to welcome other people that joined. I think I lost the view though, but I think I saw Ransom that joined. Opa also joined. So I want to say thank you guys again for joining us tonight. Yeah, when you reflect, you are able to put an experience into perspective. Can you speak to that, Rhonda, and how that speaks to your heart
I
in terms
think,
of volunteerism?
yeah, I think it's very important to remember where you come from. There was times where I didn't have positive thinking, very low self-esteem that put me in some places that, were not pleasant, were not pretty. And I think when it comes to volunteerism, it helps me to be more empathetic because I could have easily been any of the people that we take care of or that we meet their needs. I could very easily, you know, be without a home, be in a battered relationship, be um hopeless. And so, when I reflect on those things, it helps me to want to help someone else, but not to judge them. And I think
Right.
part of volunteering is to not be judgmental of the places that volunteering will take you.
It's true. When you reflect, you're able to put an experience in perspective. Part of this whole process of, by the way, does anyone have any questions? I lost my ability to see the people who are asking questions. I don't know why, but
Maybe
if
because
you have any
the
questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We got the guru here, so let's take advantage of her.
in a good way. In a good way.
In a good way. Reflective thinking is so important because a lot of times we celebrate our successes, but we don't think about why we succeed, what caused us to succeed, what led up to our success. We're just busy celebrating. And we do the same thing with failure too. We fail, sometimes we just get down and we don't glean the lesson from the experience that we could glean if only we set time aside, schedule time. Now, this is a new practice for me, scheduling time just to reflect. That's one of the thinking skills I've been mentioning. And so in this process of, wanting to volunteer or opportunities that may be there to volunteer, I want you to be considering how you can engage this thinking skill to implement, to start volunteering and giving back, and considering how to merge your passion and your purposes, or even to ask yourself, what is my purpose? What is my passion? What fires me up? I know I've been doing that, and I'm very excited about volunteer. I recently became the Staten Island rep for Hope.
Ooh, yes.
So I'm very excited about that. So I get to engage in that sense, and it merges very well. Speaking of things merging well, I had to go through this process of thinking myself because I have the Eve Speaks platform, which is to help people to heal, aspire, and grow, which just naturally dovetail into hope. I was like, and I was praying about it. I said, God, what do you want me to do? Should I be doing this? And he literally like just opened the doors, like busted it up open. So I'm just amazed at how prayer, when you take the time to reflect on your prayer, God is working.
Yes.
He really is, and he is answering the prayer. But sometimes we have the things in silos, so we don't merge them and we don't see the picture. And so we don't reflect holistically and we miss the boat. I'm praying a lot this year. God, I want to be able to sense when you're moving, discern it, extract the lesson in the moment. I don't want to go 5 years and go, man, that's what he was trying to tell me. I want to get it much sooner. I'm too slow. So this process of engaging the thinking skills is just so critical. And on the platform, it's part of our coaching process to help you to think healthy in a healthy way, and that's going to benefit you in the here and now.
Angela, I was going to say it's also good to go in the strength you have. Like don't look at what someone else is doing and compare yourself to them, but like from where you are. So someone had said they work with kids and special needs. There might be something really big just right there that you could do from where you're seated. And you don't have to create something, you don't have to take extra time, but right from where you are, there's so many needs that can be met.
That's true. And that's where the reflective thinking will come, because you just sit and think about what you already have in your hand. The fish may already be in your hand and the loaves.
Yeah.
Instead of going to go find more fish and more bread, you may already be there.
Plug up my computer. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask a question. Anybody else have any questions? Somebody says, Rhonda, thank you for sharing that you struggle with insecurity and negative thinking. Sometimes we think leaders like yourself are always at their best. Well, she went to plug in her computer, she said?
I'm still here. I'm just
okay. Well, this is a good segue, Rhonda, because we heard about all the things that I think you're definitely a celebrated woman and should be celebrated for all the things. But we wanted to take us to a point in your life where we call the dip, when things weren't that good and you were kind of lost and kind of confused and insecure, as you say, a little bit didn't have your voice. Talk us through where you were, how you were feeling, and how you navigated that period when you were in the belly of the whale, so to speak.
Let's see. Yes. So I think growing up, I've always felt I'm a single child. So I think I'm very by nature just super selfish. Everything is about me. I don't share things. Even to this day, like we each have to have our own pint of ice cream. Like, don't eat my ice cream. So so with that though, I also had this side that never felt worthy, never felt good enough, never felt that I deserve good things. And then it led to so many poor choices. I was definitely someone who would try anything once. And if I didn't get caught, I'd do it again. So, I had a life of stealing, a life of not just stealing, but just anything. If I wanted it, I felt like I have to have it, then I can take it. And there's no one could tell me anything differently. Alcoholism and a lot of just the different things that I gravitated towards were just the feelings about myself, the negative feelings about myself, looking to be fulfilled, looking to be happy, and looking in the wrong places to get those things. Another time was when, I lost my dad about 14 years ago. And well, so there's two things. When I was trying to have my son, I remember feeling so like, God, how could you not give me what I want? And it wasn't until I got to the place where, wait a minute, he gave me salvation. He gave me a relationship with him. If I never get another thing, I'm good. And that was a process though. And then when I lost my father again, I went through this deep hole of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, what else is going to happen? I didn't see that coming. I was also the type of person who, before I read a book, I'd read the ending. If I didn't like the book, the ending, I wouldn't read the book. So just that very controlling, not trusting person. And that's how I based my decisions, based on where I got my comfort from.
So you're in this valley. Is there a period of time? How long did that last? Or it was just different seasons of your life? Was it a long stretch?
I mean, my whole adolescence was a lot of that. And then, I mean, even when you become a Christian, right, it doesn't go away because you still don't have a voice. And so much of your early Christian stages are seeing how much you weren't pleasing to God. And so I know I started praying every day, God, just let me make you smile. Let my day just make you smile. When you look at this disgusting world, just let me make you smile. Something that I do make you smile. And it started kind of changing a little bit where I felt like, okay, well, if I can just make God smile, it doesn't matter if a man loves me. If I can make God smile, it doesn't matter if I get the job that I want or if I have the clothes or the things that I want, because I'm making, like, I'm keeping it very simple. If I can just make God smile. And so over the seasons, up and down, like I'd be okay. I would definitely say that now's my sweet spot. But I've only been here a little while.
I like that. This is your sweet spot, but I've only been here a little while. Sounds like you're setting up yourself for more reflective thinking. I'm going to make this get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter.
Continue to learn. I mean,
yes.
Just being able to continue to learn because I like right now, my son is a senior. And so I'm getting ready. He's looking at colleges. He's getting ready to leave home. He's getting ready to drive. So I feel like as my fears are activated, the grounding has to come in different areas. I have to be able to transfer the faith that I might have gotten in one area over to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what I also hear is intimacy with God. I think the intimacy with God helps us to know what our purpose and our passion is, or how we can turn our purpose into our passion, or our passion into our purpose, to make it a mission. For you to be thinking, God, how can I make you smile? If you think about that, that's a very intimate desire that for you to express. Even if you never give me anything else, Father, I just want to make you smile. It sounds like a personal walk that's rich, that has color, that's not bland. And so I'm not surprised, actually, just by listening to that you're in your sweet spot, because intimacy breeds that. Think about any relationship you have. When you have an intimate relationship, whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband, when it's intimate, it's rich. It's something you look forward to. It's something you long for. It's delicious. You get excited. Your taste buds are popping, right? So I think I think that's what you're experiencing. Someone asked, M. Hill asked, what is an advice you can give to someone who's interested in volunteering but need help with taking the first step? It's a good question, right?
Really good question. I think asking yourself, what do you like? When people tell me they want to volunteer, I always ask them first, what are you interested in? Do you like older people? Do you like kids? Or do you like education? Do you like park cleaning? What do you like to do? And so I think when you do something that comes from your heart, it's not an extra task. It's not an extra chore. I've started doing, it's so funny. Noelle, I see you. I started doing my meetings during walks because I had a car accident. So I need to move my body more and with physical therapy. So instead of having a meeting at a coffee shop or having a meeting on Zoom, I'm like, can you meet me and we go for a walk together? And that way I'm killing many birds with that stone.
Many birds.
So if you find, like, again, go in the strength you have. Don't like try to think, okay, I need to go find a soup kitchen. That might not be your jam. That might not make you, you might not really like that. But what is it? Look at yourself first, self-reflect what you really like to do. And then you can find things. I mean, there's things where, United Way, I take the boys of color from my son's school and we do Black Men Read. And like once a month we go to public schools and they read to the kindergartners.
Nice.
And so there's so many things out there, and I'm just using that as an example where you can take kindergartens love people. You find the corner school and you say, hey, before I go to work, can I come read to the kids? They'll take you. So
Nice.
I'm just saying, think about what you're passionate about, what you like to do, and just fit it in your schedule. Don't make it like, I gotta find time to do this thing.
And you keep saying, go in the strength you have. I love that. Go with what you got, what's in your hands. Somebody else I think has, Amy says she's learning in this season of her life that service to God's glory truly makes her happy.
Wow.
So it's so good when you can reflect on that and extract that that's what's making you happy. Reflective thinking really is the crock pot of the mind. Lots of treasures up in there. Noelle. Oh, Noelle says, hey. Save the birds. Amy said you should save the birds. It's 9:54. Jay,
wow.
Send the next slide, the final one.
Yeah, the conversation
was 1 hour.
So interesting. Yeah.
Yes, yes. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. Now, this is a powerful one. Genevieve, would you like to speak to this one?
Yeah, it's just like we just talked about reflective thinking. I mean, some event happens in our lives, and there are most of the time God's messages. And if we're not able to discern it, to re-examine our lives, sometimes we may lose the most important things in our lives. Because sometimes we are, everybody comes to God in a different way. And sometimes things goes in a way that you need to re-examine your life so that you will take the if I can say, the best part, because we sometimes miss it. When I listen to Rhonda, for example, she finds her worth by re-examining her lives. And I think that it's the same thing, like living just like, I think that if we're not able to re-examine our life, it's just like we're living just like animals, actually. But
we're living what?
Like animals.
Animals.
Yeah. And I
it's
think
very important.
Yeah, it's a great quote. It's a great quote.
The unexamined life is not worth living. That's so important because the whole idea of reflective thinking is that we take the time, again, not just to experience things and just go about our day. One of the things that I started practicing, we went to South Carolina recently, and North Carolina, that place is hot. And was on our way home was to start asking the kids. Actually, Wendy was in the car, a sister in our Staten Island ministry, and she came with a box of cards. And her whole point was to ask each person what they learned on the trip, what experience stood out to them, what made them laugh, what made them smile, And it was so good for me to just listen to her do that because she was practicing reflective thinking. She was trying to get the kids to really treasure the trip, the experience of going on that journey, and not just to take it for granted that your parents took us out for vacation and that's what we do. No, it's important to reflect. And our life, as we're living, we have to be asking ourselves, how can I make sure that my resources, my time, my gifts, my talents are being channeled in a way that when I stand before God, I feel proud to hear him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things, and I'll make you rule over many things. And I think that's part of the whole thing with volunteering. It helps you to live not just for living. You're living, giving back. It's substantial. It's a legacy that you're living and that you're going to leave. And I think that's important, not just living a legacy, but having one that you're going to leave, that you're going to be proud of. I think I was listening to Viola Davis recently, and she said that when the last person that knows her dies, that's when she's really going to be dead, because she's so busy making sure that she is impacting the people around her, and that it's like a gift that just keeps giving. And I think it's so important for us to take this quote to heart, because we do have to examine our lives in this area of volunteerism. I love the fact that you stopped by. I learned from you recently also, Rhonda, that when I'm volunteering, it's not us and them. It's the shared humanity. I love that. It stayed with me since I came to Harlem at the beginning of the year. I'm like, so true. And it's that self-examination again.
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you. I also want to ask you now that you've told us about, all the good stuff, the stuff in the value, what are you doing next? Where are you going now? What's your next thing?
So it's funny that we're on this platform. Angela, I don't know if you remember, I told you the thing I hate the most is public speaking.
Uh-huh.
I don't like to be in the front. I'm very much the Robin. I'd rather be in the background helping someone else than being the person up front. So this alone is like a new thing. I mean, I have to speak all the time now, but it's not my comfort zone at all. So just growing in that area. And I think definitely one thing I would like to leave you all, this is really personal too. As you serve, my son got to go to a school for free because I volunteered at the school. And from that, the people that we've met, the relationships that we have, when you volunteer, especially if you're single, if you're looking for a man, the man that is there volunteering, giving his time to help someone else is the kind of man you want to date. I will add that. And it shows something about his character. I think just volunteering opens so many doors personally for you, whether it's a job, the training that you get. We just had a youth corps in New York. And I mean, I had to be responsible for people, responsible for budgets, responsible for transportation, so many moving parts. I'm like, you know what? I might become a project manager because after doing that, I'm like, just all the different skill sets that you learn in volunteering, priceless.
Yes.
It's priceless, it's invaluable, but also things like I'm going to volunteer at a golf event. Now I need to learn how to play golf. I can't right now because of my back, but most professional people do it on the golf course. There's so many women who are getting into golfing. So I found out there's an organization I can volunteer at golfing and learn more about golfing, but through volunteerism. Golfing's expensive. I can't afford to do that. But through volunteering, so I'm just saying there's so many benefits, there's so many things that you can do that I think that's where I'm at. So I might be golfing by the next time you see me. I might be a project manager, who knows? But I think
Wow.
it really opens up your world and your exposure and opportunity from volunteering.
That is awesome. I think there was one question that somebody asked that I never got to before we go. What was a mistake that you made when you were volunteering, and what did you do to correct it?
Well, definitely forgetting the hot dog buns. That was huge. That was one. I think also we used to volunteer at a place in Harlem for formerly incarcerated people. And I think I had to learn how I felt about that. You know, like I wanted to help the people, but how did I really feel about people who were formerly incarcerated and the judgment that I had with that? And then even with the Youth Corps this summer, working with some of the people, it's sometimes hard to put yourself in a position where you're just supporting someone when you see all the things they're doing wrong. And when you go in and not have a voice in that on purpose because you're there to support them. So what I did do to correct that was after the event, I set up a meeting with some official in City Hall, and not to talk about all the things I saw wrong, but how my services could enhance their programs that they already have.
Awesomeness.
So
The
how
mindset,
to
the mindset.
yeah, how to approach it. I didn't go to them with, oh, you did this wrong, this was wrong, I didn't like this. Definitely we were in some situations that we shouldn't have been in because of management kind of things. And so they definitely needed to be addressed, but not from a negative point of place, but how can I assist you in this area? Yeah, so I think that's important.
This is awesome. And so we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Ileana says, sign me up. All right, you got it, Ileana. This is how we turn our passion into purpose and
never be negative.
Into skill.
Yeah, never be negative.
Never be negative. Passion to purpose. Volunteering can help us to live a legacy and leave one. And that's what we want to do, right? So please, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me and Genevieve via the Eve Speaks platform. A lot of you know Rhonda, you can reach out to her directly as well. And M. Hill said that was great. Thank you all.
Yes.
Hashtag passion. Yes, yes. So thank you tonight. I'm very grateful that you all showed up. And
yes,
have
thank
a great
you, everybody.
week. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Amazing.
Nice to meet you, Jimmy.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.